Okay, I've started recording again. So just listen this with a fresh mind. So what I'm saying, we are in the month of April, okay? And on the second Tuesday, Microsoft has released patches for both servers and client machines, right? On second Thursday, after a couple of days, what we are doing here is we go to the all software updates node, that is here, we go to all software updates, right? And what we do is we add criteria for date released or revised on or after last 2 days, right? Because these patches were released in last 2 days. So on or after last 2 days, you'll have one criteria, and then you'll have one more criteria for title contains Windows 7, or if you have multiple client operating systems like Windows 7, Windows 8, like that, you can have title contains Windows 7 or Windows 8 kind of, right? So you can have multiple criteria there, right? Or else what you can do is, since you're anyways selecting having a criteria like released in last 2 days, right? So them in the number of patches what you'll get will be very minimal there, maybe some 40 50. So out of 40 50 it should be much easier for you to identify which are Windows 7 based on the name, rather than having a title contains one more criteria. You can also physically you can verify those 40 patches and you'll clearly know that okay, these are for servers and these are for the client operating systems, right? So have the title contains thing. Now what I'm saying, create. Yeah, Amar, go ahead.
Yeah, so would be likewise, right? If it is for client, it will be written as Windows 7, and if it is for server, so all the patches will have this. Uh,
We'll have the OS name in the title,
OS.
yes.
Okay.
They will have the OS name in the title, yep. So that's one thing. And once you have all those Windows 7 patches which are released in last 2 days, right? That means which are released in the month of April. Now you will select those updates and create a SUG. Now here, name this SUG as all clients pilot. Okay, name them as all clients pilot updates, right? And what you'll do, you'll deploy this SUG to a all clients pilot collection. So what I'm doing is the patches that are released in the month of April, I've created an all clients pilot updates collection, pilot updates software update group, and pushing it to all clients pilot collection, right? So say suppose if I have 10,000 client machines, out of which, as I told you, I'll have some 200 or 500 pilot machines collection. So I'm targeting the patches that are released in this month to all clients pilot thing, right? Now what I will also have is mm, next month, in the month of May. So similarly you'll do for servers. Okay, I'm not repeating the same steps. So the same steps, date released or revised, title contains server, and then you will create all servers, all servers. So that's there. Now in the month of May, second Tuesday, patches are released. Second Thursday, the same stuff you're doing it, right? Right? You do the ones which are released in the last 2 days, and what you will do, you will not create a software update group this time. You will add these, select those updates and add to existing SUG, which is all clients pilot updates. There will be an existing software update group which with the name all clients pilot, that which we have created last month, right? So that is already there. So add the May patches to this software update group, and no need to deploy it again. That is already deployed, right? No need to deploy it again. It is already deployed. So only thing what you're doing here is you're adding these patches to an existing software update group which are released in the month of May. And what you'll do, there is one more activity you have to do in the month of May, that is add the April patches to a new SUG, okay, and its name would be all clients prod updates. So now after 1 month, the April patches have become production up patches. So for that, you are creating a new SUG, software update group, calling it as all clients production updates, and you are deploying this SUG to all clients prod collection, right? So now what will happen here? Let's go and see for what will happen in the month of June and how the process will follow from the later months. So if you see from the month of June, let me pick the same thing till here. You have selected, okay, you selected data released or revised in the last 2 days, right? You have the patches with you. Now what you'll do, the patches which are released in the month of June, you will add it to the pilot updates, right? And the patches which are released in the month of May, you will add it to the production updates. So you're not creating any new software update group every month. Only the first 2 months you have created them, and after that you are adding to the existing SUG. Guys, is this part clear to you?
Yes, Manoj. I have a happens if any of the hotfix of the patch fails. How do we roll it back?
Okay. If any patch or anything fails, so how do you roll it back? Okay, I'll park that question aside. So before that, is this part clear? Like adding to the existing SUG and removing the current month patches from the pilot updates and adding them to the old month patches from the pilot updates and adding them to the production updates. Is this part clear? Because I haven't shown this to you yet on the console.
This is clear for me.
Okay, okay. So then let me show this to you once. So what I'm saying is, if you are creating a software update group, once you have a software update, no need to create a software update group every month. So what you'll do an edit membership and you'll remove this particular patch from the pilot one. So this month, no more it is pilot, now it is production. So you remove it from pilot, you'll add it to the production. I'm assuming that this is pilot and this is production. So you're removing it from the existing one. You are removing the membership of that particular patch, adding it to the production, right? And any new patch, so suppose there is a new patch which is coming up, which is released in the month of June. For example, there's a new patch, right? You will directly add it. So it will not be added to anything. You'll add it to the production one. Sorry, the pilot one. Because there's a new patch, you're adding it to the pilot. Guys, is this part clear? The edit membership. So every month you will not create a new software update group. You will have only one pilot and one production created. So every month anything which is released in that particular month is added to the pilot SUG, right? And last month which was already there in the pilot, that you will remove that membership and add them to the production now. So this is how the cycle continues, right?
So, Manoj, when we are doing a pilot, when we choose a pilot, we
Mhm.
test it, and then within weeks we'll install it on production. We don't wait for the next
We will wait.
production.
No, we will wait for the next month. We will wait till the next month. We will not do it within weeks. So what will happen is, say suppose in the month of April patches are released, but there are chances that in the month of May, some new patches are released which are superseding the patches which are in the month of April, right? So you need to wait at least for 1 month cycle.
Okay.
right? So what might happen is in the month of May, some KB1 which is released in April, they will say that okay, that is expired now, and there is a KB2 which is superseding it. Then there is no point in between you deploying those expired patches to all the machines. You have to wait for till KB2 releases in the month of in the next month, which is superseding, and then you can push that itself onto the client machines, right?
Little confusing here because see, in April I have about two patches, KB1 and KB2
Mm-hmm.
device. In month of May, I'm going to take those two patches, KB1 and KB2, and put it into prod. By then, I would also have a patch released as KB3, which is superseding KB1.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not still deploying it, right? Until June, I'm not going to deploy KB3.
True, true. That's true. That is true. But at least you will not deploy KB1.
But then I'll have to wait till June, right?
You
To
have to wait.
deploy KB.
KB3.
So till yeah, so till April and May also I'm not going to deploy KB1, which is
Mhm.
superseding by KB3. I'm not going to deploy for 2 months. It will be vulnerable or it might not be the updates not be effective.
No, no, no. I'll tell you what. See, in the month of, can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the month of April, as you said, KB1 and KB2 are pushed to pilot machines, right? Ideally, you are expecting in the month of April, in April, you are expecting that after 1 month, you wanted to push KB1 and KB2, and KB2 are pushed to prod. So this is what you are expecting, right? Will be pushed to prod, right? So, but what's happening here is in the month of May, Microsoft released KB3 and they're telling that KB1 is now superseded. So what you'll do, you'll only push relevant patches. You will not push an expired patch. KB1 is now expired. There's no point pushing an expired patch to the production machines. So you'll remove that. In the month of May, you are pushing only KB2 will be pushed to production machines. And in the same month of May, what you're doing now is KB3 is pushed to pilot. Though Microsoft has released a new patch which is superseding, that is not tested in your environment, right? So you have to test it again. So KB3 is pushed to the pilot machines, and only in the month of May, in the month of June, you're going to push KB3 to prod, right? So your point is I'm not installing KB1 to production till June. No, the KB1 is already expired, so you don't need to even push it. So KB3 is released last month, and you're deploying it the very next month. You're deploying it to the production. KB1 is already expired, right, Amar?
No, understandable, but there is a purpose for KB1. So it might be fixing up some operating till June, and it is superseding by June. So I'm
Mhm.
just thinking from April the entire month and May the entire month is not patched.
That's true, but see, KB1 patch, whatever the purpose it was released in the month of April, that purpose
Hmm.
is not completely solved by that particular patch. If it was completely resolved by that, they wouldn't have
Okay.
replaced it with KB3.
Okay.
So even though you are pushing it, it is not doing the job that you wanted it to do.
Okay.
Right, that's the reason it was expected because that's not the case with KB2. KB2 is successfully deployed within the next month itself because that is doing it is solving the purpose for which it is released. But KB1 is not doing it, then there is no point in even pushing it.
Okay. All
Right?
right. Unless and until it is very critical that these patches have to be pushed, then those, though if it is
See,
superseding,
I'll tell you
then
in a different way, Amar. Try to understand in a different way. Like, see, every month Microsoft is releasing patches. That means there are so many vulnerabilities and they're trying to fix those every month, right? So unless and until though Microsoft has released KB1, if it is not solving the purpose, okay, and it is getting superseded, you should not consider it as if you're making your machines are going to be vulnerable today, because it is already vulnerable. Every month your machines are already vulnerable, and for that they're trying to fix it on a monthly basis. But if KB1 is
Okay.
not doing that purpose, then there's just because Microsoft released it, we are not supposed to push it. We have to see that it is already expired and it has been superseded with KB3. Let's push directly KB3, which is doing the actual purpose, right? So sometimes, see, it might be not too aggressive. Like sometimes what might happen is KB1 is released in the month of April and the supersedence patch is released after 4 or 5 months, right? So in that case,
Yeah.
anyways, your KB1 is already going to your environment, because
Right.
it is not expired until 6 months or 4 or 5 months. After 4 or 5 months, then they'll come back and say that, okay, we are expiring this patch. It is not. We have got a feedback that it is not doing the 100% of it. In certain cases, it's failing. It is not completely covering it. So we have updated it, and now we have KB3. So that they might release in the month of August, right? So in that cases, you are good. In your case, right? KB1 is already pushed to all the production machines, and after 6 months down the line, KB3 is released.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So just because I'm not seeing this kind of patches, how do I get to know that KB3 is superseding KB1?
So
Is
here,
there some kind of naming convention, or it's through the articles we'll have to go through?
so there are a couple of things. One is if you're subscribing to, there is a Microsoft every patch Tuesday when they release patches, right? So there is a kind of notification or bulletin which almost all enterprises would get. They get a mail. So if you subscribe to it, even you will get a mail saying that this is expired and this is superseding. Okay, that's a mail communication what you'll get, and also that is available on TechNet, right? And apart from that, from the console, what you can SCM console, you can see this icon in green right now, right? So what you will have is, if it is an expired patch, I don't know if we have any expired patches here. See, 1 minute. Do you see here this particular patch? It says superseded S, and you can see the difference in the icon color,
Okay.
right? So this is superseded. However, it is not yet expired. It is superseded with a new patch, but it is not expired. If you expire it, then you'll have a completely gray icon. Okay, in my case, okay, let me see if I can show you any gray icon here. No, all of them, see, there are so many superseded patches, but those are not expired. So if it is superseded and expired, you'll find them in gray. Currently we don't have it in, at least in the data that I have for you.
And how do I get to know which is the superseded, like naming convention or something would be there, or
No, that's what I
which
said. So
superseded?
that information you'll get it from the bulletin emails that you get.
Okay.
So every month, anyways, when
Okay.
Microsoft releases the patches, they'll clearly mention that, okay, last we are replacing a patch which was created in the month of 6 months down the line back, right? So in the month of January, this patch was released, and now that has been superseded with a new patch. So that information you'll have it in both TechNet as well as you'll have it in your mail communication as well. See, all it matters to you is you don't need to even check for which is the patch which is superseded and which is released. For you, all that matters is every month before pushing, you're just checking if any patches are expired or superseded. If those are expired, you're not even targeting them to your client machines. That's it. That is all matters to you. You don't.
So in this scenario, it is not expired, but it is superseding. Can we still go ahead and deploy it on the client machine,
See, actually,
or no?
no, you should not. Actually, what happens is, if you remember, initially we had an option like, do you want to immediately supersede, expire the patches or not? Okay, let me show you to when.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
See,
think
I
we gave
think
1 month or 3 months, right?
correct. Yeah.
And that's the reason these patches are still live here. Otherwise, they would have um, got expired. So I believe in the software update installation, update point installation. Okay, here it is an immediately expiry superseded software update. Ideally, if you have this, those patches should expire and should be in the grayed out icon, should be with graded icon. So we can troubleshoot on that, but the point here is if some patch is already superseded or some patch is
Mhm.
already expired, um, don't push them. Don't push them as part of your monthly patches. So as I was telling you, there is no need for you to keep a track of which patch is superseded with what patch. So as a SCM administrator, that you don't need to keep a track of. For you, all that matters is this month I'm deploying some 50 patches. Do you have any expired patches in this? Do you have any superseded patches? Right? If I have any expired patches or superseded, just remove them. Just have only the ones which are in green to be deployed to the end user machines.
Okay, yes, got it.
Okay, so that anyways, while pushing them, you have an option, right? So here, while you say suppose you already have created a software update group last month, okay, for pilot, and this month before pushing to production, you can check that software update group. You'll find okay, there is a particular patch which is in expired, which is in gray or yellow here within the 1 month, right? Then you'll right click it, say edit membership, and you'll remove it. You'll not delete that patch from here, okay? You just right click and say edit membership and remove it from your current your software update group so that you're not deploying it. Make sense?
Yes, Manoj.
Okay, so guys, if you're thorough with this, let me just introduce one more concept here. So now we know the process of creating software update groups, deploying it, and all this process. So the other thing what we have here is automatic deployment rules. So the same stuff now instead of you creating it every month, right, on every Thursday and all, you can have ADRs here, automatic deployment rules. So we can create an automatic deployment rule. And what will happen is, okay, let me name the rule as ADR for pilot client patches. Okay, what will happen is I can have it targeted. See, always I want any patches which are created, uh, any deployment package which is created out of this ADR should be pushed to all clients pilot, right? So I'll select that. Okay, either you can add to an existing software update group or create a new SVG, right? So I've told you, right, we can add it to an existing SVG every month, just add them to the standard pilot. Uh, so you say add it to the existing one. Here you'll give that selection, date released or revised in the last 1 day or last 2 days, right? And the title contains, right? Like this, if you have multiple, you can keep on adding all of them here. Contains Windows 7 and it is required by at least one machine, right? You can have the symbol greater than or equal to 1. So that means at least this patch is required by one or more machines, right? And you don't want you don't want any superseded or expired patches as part of this, right? So if you want, you can remove them where superseded value is equal to no, right? So now out of these patches, right? So a software update group will be created. So it is asking run this rule. So when should I run this rule? So you want to run this rule every month on second Thursday because that's the reason I put it as run it check for the updates released in last 2 days, right? So you'll put here it should run on you can give a start time and then you can have it monthly once. You can have a second Thursday selected here and then run monthly once, right? Or you can have it custom interval and run it for every 30 days, right? And start date would be on the Thursday, right? So like that you can set the interval here, your custom interval. So now this runs once in 30 days. Let me put it. recur every 1 month on second Thursday. Okay, so this is there. And this step is it is same what you do it in the deployments, right? We have seen as soon as possible and as soon as possible as the deadline time, right? And we have discussed all this, right? Whether it should be hidden or you want to users to know that their computer is going to restart. So all that remains the same. All these things are same. Alert also we have discussed yesterday. Okay, on a slower network should it download the software updates and all that. Finally, creating a deployment package. So what you can do is every month you can create a new deployment package. Okay, but the software update remains the same, but every month you can create a new deployment package for the pilot updates. So you'll give the location from where it has to download and create a new deployment package. So for now I'm just giving existing one. Okay, so download the software updates from internet, right? English language. So all this remains the same. So the only step here, right? So now what it is doing is it automatically every second Thursday it itself is running a rule to create a new software update group or to update the existing software update group and create a new deployment package targeting to a deployment collection. So all this is automatically done without your intervention, right? But the only step what you have to do here is go back at the very first screen. You have enabled the deployment after this rule is run. Just remove that. So don't make this deployment as enabled. The moment you make it enabled, so every month on second Thursday, all this will be automatically created and deployed to the end user machines or the pilot machines or whoever you are targeting, right? They'll get deployed. You don't want it to get deployed immediately. You want it to check at least on the every month on the second Thursday. You'll come here. So you'll check what is the deployment package it is created. Is the deployment package distributed? Right, all the patches are correctly checked or not. So you are doing a double check here and making sure that the distribution has been completed and everything. Say suppose there could be sometimes distribution fails for some reason, or sometimes based on the rules that you have selected, right, like in last 2 days and all that stuff that you have selected, there might be something which is missing, right? So it is better don't enable the deployment, just create everything set up for you so that now you have SUG, you have deployment package, you have it distributed, collection deployment, everything is there. Wait, check everything, and finally you will enable the deployment. So if I say next, so you'll have this automatic deployment rule created, and when it runs, when this ADR will run, automatically it will create a new deployment package. So you'll check that new deployment package, and you will distribute. You'll see if it is distributed or not. Everything is perfect. Then finally you'll go to that software update group. I don't know for which software update group we have created this. I think we have selected existing software update group, right? So whichever software update group you have created, you'll find a deployment there which is disabled, right? And that disabled thing, you'll just enable it. If it is enabled disabled, right? So it will be disabled, you'll enable that. That's the only thing you have to do after this ADR is created. Clear, Amar and Manju?
So until then, the package won't be deployed on the pilot machine until we enable it.
Yes, until you enable, it will not be deployed. The whole point of creating ADR is to save you some time to download the patches, to distribute it to the DP. See here, I'm showing you just one DP, but in production you'll have some 40-50 DPs, right? And there will be so many patches. So instead of that itself is a monthly activity itself will take some almost like 4 to 5 hours for you on that particular second Thursday. 4 to 5 hours you have to just sit on segregating these patches, creating, deploying to collections, SUGs and all that stuff. Let this happen automatically with the help of ADR, and finally you'll just check if everything is fine or not, and you'll enable the deployment. Clear, Amar?
Yeah, and the second point, what so right?
Sorry, Amar, I lost your voice.
This goes via change request process in
Mhm.
a
Sorry, buddy, I again lost you. So are you asking me, will this go through a change management process?
Yes, yes.
You mean to say the ADR or the entire patch management
No,
process?
the deploying of the patches.
Yeah, deploying of patches will anyways goes through change management thing. So you will you'll have it as a standard change management approval, blanket change management approval. It's not every month you have to take a change management approval. It is like you'll mention
Okay.
like on every second Thursday, patches are going to current month patches will be pushed to the pilot machines, and last month patches will be pushed to the production machines. So this is expected on every second Thursday, right? This is a
Okay.
standard blanket approval you're going to take.
All right. Yeah.
Right, and same goes with even servers. Even for servers, you will take a blanket approval that for these servers on every third Saturday or second Saturday, I'm going to do this activities. Right, so that there also will take a blanket approval. However, for servers, what might happen is you might hear exceptions during the change management meetings. So every month you will have change management meeting, right? So during that meeting, you might heard exceptions from the people who are managing those servers. They might say that okay, this month I don't want our servers to be patched because we are running into some other activities, and or else we have heard that this particular patch is going to cause some issue for our servers. So somebody from that particular team, they might say that okay, we don't want patches for our servers this month, so put our servers into exceptions, right? So then you'll remove you have a exception collection, so you'll remove this computer from that standard server collection,
Okay.
right?
But after that month, we'll have to add it back again, right? All
Yes, yes.
those.
Yes, yes. So it's an automated activity. So what you will do is, for example, you have all servers production here, right? Similarly, I'll create one more server exclusions or exceptions. So I'll have an automated collection created, server exceptions. Okay, now this collection is created. What I'll do, I'll have under all servers production collections, under the membership rules, I'll say exclude any computer which is part of my exception collection. Where is this? All server exceptions. Yes. So anything which is part of server exceptions collection, exclude that from the production deployment, right? So you're removing it here. Now, say suppose today in change management meeting, they told that 5 servers should be excluded. So you will add those 5 servers as part of server exclusions, server exceptions. So automatically they will be removed from the production thing because you have excluded there, right? So automatically they will be removed. Next month, if that you get a clearance, you remove them from the server exceptions collection. So automatically they'll be part of the production deployment. Clear, Amar?
Yes, Manoj.
Okay, so similarly, you'll have exception collections created. That's a standard process. For any production deployment, you'll always have an exception collection and you keep it excluded. So whenever you get something like this change request, you'll add them to that exception collection and hold it there for some time. Once you get clearance, you'll remove them from that exception collection. Not only just for patch management, even for your software distribution or any other production deployments that you're doing. Guys, are you clear with this part? Okay.
Yes.
So, so shall I proceed with the next topic, software metering?
Sure.
So what do you understand from software metering, Manju or Ramar?
Basically, in a very layman term, it is utilized and how many are remaining.
Sorry, buddy. Again, I lost your voice. Sorry to say that again and again. Yeah. So you're
Okay.
saying, okay, can you please
It
repeat it?
is, yeah, it is basically to identify how many licenses are remaining and how many have been utilized.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. That's good. Manju, what's your understanding towards software metering? Have you ever heard about it?
Yeah, I heard, but not having any exact way of telling.
Sure, no problem. So let's understand it together then. So see, you have, um, and I'm just going with the same thing like Office, for example, Office 2016, right? So Office 2016, how many of you regularly use PowerPoint? How many of you use regularly Project or Visio? Very few of us, right? So most of us out of Office we use Outlook, right? That's the most commonly used, and sometimes you'll also use Word for the documents, but and maybe Excel as well. But PowerPoints, when it comes, it is not a daily activity that you use, right? But and some of the your employees will never use PowerPoints at all. They don't even go get into the deck presentations or anything. They don't even get into there. So most of them, they just check use Office only for Outlook purpose, right? Or they'll use Office. Most of us will not use Project and Visio, but still we are paying license to it, right? So how to find how many users are really using these applications, and if they're not using these applications, right? How to revoke their license so that it can be used for somebody else, or maybe you can take a Office license suite wherein that suite doesn't include Project and Visio or other things. You can say that okay, I want you have professional plus multiple other suites, right? So you can select a particular suite wherein not all Microsoft products are covered, because if all Microsoft products are covered, the license cost is more. Instead of that, you can say that okay, I see that most of my employees are using only one or two products out of this, so let me take a slimmer version of Office 2016 and pay less amount for that license amount, right? So how do you come to that conclusion? So you, first of all, you should know, you should check how the usage is happening in your environment, right? Without seeing a clear data which tells you that okay, your usage is less, you cannot proceed with licensing decisions, right guys? Same goes with any application. If I take AutoCAD for example, right? Same goes. So on many people machine, maybe AutoCAD is installed just because they belong to a mechanical department or a designing department, right? Some drawings department in your office. So they have AutoCAD installed on their machines, but maybe only 50% of people are using it. Other 50% are not using that application. Then how do you know that? Maybe managers who are into the same designing department, there are managers, they don't actually open AutoCAD, right? So only the technical guys, they open AutoCAD and they are working. But honestly, an AutoCAD installation is lying idle on a manager's desktop. So how do you identify that? So there should be some kind of a mechanism which will tell you that okay, this particular application is being used in your environment and this is not being used in your environment. So based on that, you can take appropriate actions and save cost for your licensing, right? So that's where SCM will come into picture. So SCM is already telling you the software and hardware inventory, whether AutoCAD is installed or not, whether Office 2016 is installed or not. That's what software or hardware inventory will tell you. But now we want a detailed data whether people are really using it or not about installed or not, right? So for that, you have something called software metering, right? And if you see here, there are already so many rules which are created. So there are like 45 rules I can see which are created, like based on DLL host.exe, explorer.exe, ping, notepad, right? Maybe there is one for Adobe Reader, Adobe RM, right? So there are so many things which are already created. VLC media player, right? So how are these created here? So we haven't created any rules, right? So what will happen is basically software metering runs on rules. So what is a rule? So basically you have to create a rule saying that, okay, when I run Adobe Reader application, okay, the actual exe which runs in the background is, I know that that is acro reader 32.exe for example. So this particular exe will run in the background when I'm opening an application. So you keep on checking for this particular exe, uh, see how much time a user is using this exe, how much time in the task manager this particular process or this particular exe is running, right? Try to find out the start time and end time, how much time he is using it, right? So that way you are creating a rule, okay? So Now in this case, we haven't created any rules. Those are automatically created. So how are these created is, when you go to the software metering properties, see, by default it is enabled like automatically create rules from recent uses inventory data. So based on your inventory data, right, recent uses, so SCM will automatically create, because we already have VLC in our environment, right? We already have Adobe Reader in our environment. So based on the inventory data, it has automatically created rules, but those are disabled. So right now they are not running. It says automatically create disabled metering rules. Just rules are created there, right? And even those rules are created based on specify the percentage of computers in the hierarchy that must use a program before a rule is automatically created. That means you have 10,000 machines, buddy, right? And you're using some cute PDF. Okay, that's an application that you're using on two machines. You don't want SCM to create cute PDF just because it is installed on two machines and it is part of inventory data. You should not have that application created here, that rule created here, right? Because that way what's happening, uh, say suppose you have 10,000 machines, every single day somebody or other will be installing something or other application, and your software metering rules will be in a very exhaustive list, right? Some thousands of rules would be created. So to avoid that, what you are saying is, if at all at least 10% of my machines out of 10,000 machines, if at least 10% of my machines are using a certain application, that means it's a valid application. So create a rule for those 10% of applications, right? Whatever the application people are using, at least if 10% of users are using them, then create a rule. Guys, is this part clear to you till here?
Percentage or the numbers? When you said 10%, is it?
10% of the computers using that application.
Yeah, but it's valued on
Sorry, it's valued on what?
uh, on numbers, number of devices, or is it percentage?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? 10% of the devices. So for example,
Okay.
if you have 1,000 machines, right? So if at least 100
Yeah.
machines have a particular application installed on them, only such
No,
sorry,
the reason why I asked is that it was not mentioned as percentage, so I got
no, it is mentioned here. Specify the percentage of computers. It is mentioned here. Specify the percentage of computers.
yeah,
Okay.
got it.
Okay, buddy. So based on the percentage of the computers, if at least 100 machines are installed having this particular application, then a rule is created. Okay, and let's see what is there in the rule and how the rule behaves. All right. So right now what I'm doing, I'm not creating any new rule, because already it has created so many rules here based on my inventory data, but did not enable it. So if I want, I can go to any rule and enable it. So let's see. I think I have one for VLC somewhere. I've seen it. Okay, let's open this VLC media player, right? So what is it doing? It is checking for vlc.exe. This is the file name, right? And it says that it is VLC media player. Okay, so I'll say, okay, go ahead and enable this rule. I want VLC media player to be enabled. Okay, now let me go to my client machine. I don't think I have VLC media player on this machine. I have it on a different one. uh, Mate S01 start, and let me shut this. So any change in the console which we are targeting towards the client machine, what will happen? A policy is created, right? So the first thing what you have to do on the client machine, run the machine policy, so that it will know that it has to even consider software metering, new VLC as a software metering rule, right? Okay, we have VLC here, right? So let's see how it will work. We go to control panel, configuration manager. It will take a little time for even if you start the cycle immediately, it will throw an error. The selected cycle cannot start because the machine just booted up, right? So it will take a couple of minutes before Sccm sets up and it is ready for the machine policy to run. Meanwhile, I can open the log file and show you. See Windows CCM logs. So you'll have one metering manager. This is software metering manager. Okay. Let it start. So currently there are no rules assigned to it. We have assigned just one rule. Let me see if I can run the machine policy now. No, not yet. Typically it takes 2 to 5 minutes. Okay. So I've run the machine policy. See, it is just checking all the rules, all the EXEs that we are opening, right? All that EXEs or any other rule that I mean to say any other DLL or EXE that we are triggering, and anything which is there, which is creating a process ID in your task manager. By default, your metering agent is checking for all of them, but it says there is no rule associated with it. So every time you're opening it, it says terminated, open, terminated the process, started the process, and all that. Now it says a new rule 25 received successfully. Now it has received that rule, which is for VLC media player. Let's see what will happen now. If I open VLC, right? I have opened EXE, so VLC media player. So here, what it says, a new 3276 event process ID is created, which the process ID is running VLC media player, right? And I'm tracking the usage of that. So it is tracking the usage of that, right? 3272. That's what it says. 3276. Now I'll close it. So it should say terminating 3276, right? Termination event received for process 3276. So now how much time I have opened it? VLC from this time to this time, right? So this information is recorded and it is with the client machine now. SCCM is storing this information with it. Guys, are you clear? Is it clear for you till here?
Yes, Manav.
Okay. So say suppose if I open Adobe Reader, there is no metering agent created for it, metering rule created for it. So it will just say it has started and it has ended, but it will say that there is no matching rule found for that. For example, if I open Adobe Reader, see it says process ID 2416 is created, but no matching rule is found for that process because we are not metering Adobe Reader, we are just metering VLC media player, right? Let me minimize and show it to you. So for Adobe Reader, 1804 process created and it says no matching rule found for process 1804. So it is not tracking any usage. But if you see VLC, that's not the case. The moment I open VLC, it says this is opened VLC and I found matching rule ID so and so and I'm tracking the usage of it. Right guys? Now, what will happen when it is tracking all these uses? So when it is tracking all these uses, it will just keep that information on the client machine itself. It is not even sending it to the server every now and then whenever you're opening and closing, it is not sending that information back to the server. So how frequently it will send this data back to the server? If you check here on the, for everything, any such cycles and all that, we go to client settings, right? Go to client settings, check how frequently it is sending back the software metering. So schedule data collection. So data collection happens once in 7 days, right? So only after 7 days you will be able to see this information. So let me first close this VLC media player thing. Okay. So now it has this data with it, terminated. Now what I'll do, if I go to SQL database, just to see the metering data and all that, I can also run the report for software metering. I just want to show you how the backend it will write into the database as well. If you go to the configuration manager database under views, you have something called v underscore meter, metered data. Okay, so you have v underscore metered data. Select rows. So currently it will be blank because the data which is collected is still there on the client machine. See, there is no information here. The data which is collected is still there on the client machine. It is not sent back to the server. So let's change this setting just for our purpose to immediately see it here. I'll say, make it like 1 minute. Okay, so I made a change towards client setting. So definitely I have to run the policy here, right? The machine policy retrieval. Only then it will know that it has to send the information in every 1 minute. Actions, machine policy. Now in every 1 minute, all that information related to any software metering tool it has collected, it has to send back to the server. Okay, and then your server will write it back to the database. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. And when you run here after a couple of minutes, you'll find the data here. So guys, is this part clear to you? I'll run this in another couple of minutes. Meanwhile, do you have any questions in software metering? Okay. So how this data will help you when it is started and when it is off and all that. So here this is a raw data in the database. The same thing when you open in the monitoring node and go to software metering reports. So see the granularity of information that you get. Computers that have run a specific software program. So now you'll know which computers have run AutoCAD, which computers have run Outlook.exe or Project exe, right? And similarly, this is also helpful, like concurrent uses for all metered software programs. For some applications, the licensing is done based on concurrent uses. That means at any given point of time, an application can be used by 100 users. So that's the license that you will buy from the vendor. So at any given point of time, only 100 people will use my application. And accordingly, you'll pay the license for 100 concurrent usages. And when you run this software metering, you'll find that at any given point of time, only 30 or 40 people are using it. Right, in a particular shift, only 30-40 people are there, and only 30-40 people are using that application. Right, then in that case, the concurrent usage is only 30 or 40. So unless you are buying license for 100, right? So based on your software metering, since it will give you concurrent usage as well. Concurrent means at the same time, right? So it will give you concurrent usage. Based on that, you can pull out a report and uh, cut down your licensing cost. So I believe by now this must have come here. Let us execute and see. Okay, not yet. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. So let me run this program and show you a report and show you a rule name. So VLC media player is the rule name. Okay, again I got issue with my what is the rule name? VLC, right? Currently, there is no data. This is for the first time we are running it. Once we have the data, we can pull that report. Let me wait for this data to come up here. Let me trigger this to make things faster. Software metering usage report cycle. Ideally, we have set it to run every 1 minute. There you go. So now you have, it says the start time, at what time you started the application, right? On which computer resource ID you have, okay? And then you have the end time. For example, here if you say it says like you started at this is on 2:10, right? 2 o'clock 10 minutes and then till 2 o'clock 11 minutes. So even I've opened VLC for 1 minute, right? So that's what is recorded here, right? It has started and then we have released it. It is not still continuing, it is not still running. It has started and it is released. And this information ideally when you click here, it shows which month it is. Or else let's pull a much summarization report. Ideally it should come here like if it is month 5, month 6. So in this particular month, what is the usage, right? It might take little time for things to get populated because we are doing everything in a rush here. But that's the whole point, buddy. So let me see if at least I can give a summarization report and show you how it looks like. Okay, so at what time it ran? 7:45. There is a monthly usage summary which ran. That means I don't have a granular report here. Let's do this. Can I type it? It is not taking in. Okay, maybe tomorrow in tomorrow's class, by then we'll have this and I can show it to you. But this is the whole concept, guys. So once the information is, once the application is run there, so automatically based on your software metering tool, it will track the process ID. It will have that information for 1 week on the client computer. Then after 1 week, based on the report cycle, it will send it to the site server and you'll have it in the database. And like this, since you'll have it for over a period of time, like over an year, you'll have this information, or over a couple of months, you'll have this information. You can run check for the monthly status report, like in the last 1 month, how many people have used and how much time a particular application have been used. Accordingly, you can take a licensing decision. Clear, guys? Any questions here?
No, Manav.
Okay.
No,
So anything else that we need to cover for today, or maybe we can start fresh tomorrow morning? Because patch management part, the final part has been covered. So and software metering we have done. So tomorrow I can start with compliance management. So what I'll cover as part of compliance management is like, um, see, let me take an example like Silverlight. Okay, Silverlight latest version. I don't know what is the latest version. Say suppose latest version is 6.x. Okay, and you have machines with the 4.x and 5.x. Okay, so then you can create a compliance rule saying that any machine which has Silverlight less than 6.x, right, is a non-compliant machine, right? So that is a compliance rule that you're creating. So accordingly, what will happen? You can do two things here. Either you can get a notification saying that okay, on out of your 1,000 machines, some for 100 machines are still running 4.x and 5.x. They are not on the latest version of 6.x. So that kind of a report can be generated from there, and you can take an appropriate action to those machines, or else you can take an automative action. So you can say that whenever you find anything less than 6.x, okay, install this package and make sure that they are compliant. So what it will do, it will check for the compliance on all the machines. On certain machines, if they are away from your standard benchmark, your benchmark is Silverlight should be on 6.x. If they are on 4.x or 5.x, it will uninstall that particular version, install 6.x, and make sure that those machines are compliant. So this compliance part or desired configuration manager or the compliance part of SCCM, what its duty is to make sure that setting a standard benchmark, right? Setting a standard benchmark and then either reporting you if anything is falling from that benchmark, either reporting you or taking a action to put those machines back to the benchmark, right? So that is where the compliance management will come. So tomorrow we'll discuss in detail, not just for applications, if some patches are missing or some particular registry setting, you have set a group policy setting or registry setting, right? You have set USB should be blocked, all pen drives should be blocked on the corporate laptops. You have set a policy, but people have tweaked it around and they've changed some registry values and they're still using the pen drives in their corporate laptops. Then what will happen? This compliance manager, you can ask it to check for that particular registry. It will go ahead and check the registry. If anybody has set it manually, it will again go back and set it automatically to the block thing. Like that, not only settings, not only applications, patches, even virus definitions, antivirus should be on so and so version. Virus definition should be latest virus definition should be downloaded and installed. So like that, for everything you can set a benchmark, and if the machines are falling away from that benchmark, either notify to the SCM administrator or take an action to fix that. So that is part of compliance management. So we'll look into compliance management tomorrow, right guys?
sure, Manav. So this would also be like DCM, is it?
Yeah, it itself is DCM. We used to call it as DCM in 2007 and all. So now see here itself you have configuration items. So now it is part of the, in 2012 there's nothing called DCM as a separate node. So we have it as compliance settings. So you'll create configuration items as I was telling you, benchmark or baseline, right? And you create policies. So everything is part of the compliance setting now.
All right. Okay.
Anything else? Okay guys, then see you tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.